Are you a scaling SaaS founder?
Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds and those who don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where we're like a mullet in a tech conference. It's all business in the front and party in the back, and it's a little bit confusing for everybody involved. As you can tell, I am not Jeff Maines. We're doing something a little different today. We're doing a team takeover. My name is Blake Browning, and I'm a client growth strategist. So basically, what that means is when you come into our world, I'm the one who helps you implement all of Jeff's cool ideas and all of our training and our resources. I'll help you put that into your business. Along with us today, we have DJ, who is an IT expert. I'll let you talk a little bit about yourself, DJ.
I don't do anything. I'm DJ. I got reindeer ears. I'm here for the muffins. No, I'm doing the same thing as Blake. I help grow our clients' businesses, and I'm a little bit of an IT guy. I've been doing it about 25 years, so feels like forever.
Yeah, he's a little bit more than a little bit of a IT guy.
A little bit.
What is it? 40,000 hours or something like that?
What, 10,000 hours as an expert, and I've been doing it 25 years. So.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
It's been a while.
You're qualified.
A little bit.
Well, today what we're going to do, guys, is we're just going to flip the script. Usually Jeff is talking with SaaS founders like many of you. He's usually digging into your stories and hearing about your businesses, and it's really fun. And what we want to do instead today is we're just going to sort of Jeff. Why should anybody listen to what Jeff has to say? That's the question that we want to answer today. Is it worth it?
This guy?
Who's Jeff? Yeah, exactly. So thanks for having us on the show today, Jeff. And let's just dive into it. I think
sure.
Maybe a good place to start is, can you tell us a little bit about who is Jeff Maines? How did you get to be where you are today, and where did you start?
Been an entrepreneur for a long, long time. And so it's as far back as I can remember. It has been a long time. So 25, 30 years. I've built multiple companies in different industries, 2 in the SaaS space, still run one of those today. We're a fintech on the business side of healthcare. So pretty interesting mix of things there. And about the last 10 or 12 years have worked with B2B SaaS founders, executives, in helping them grow their business and scale and do what I've done. We do that in 2 ways. One is 1 to 10 million and help them make that journey. There's some significant shifts that happen between 1 and 10, and then a mastermind that is 10 to 50 plus. So a little bit different set of challenges in that range. So it's a lot of fun in building businesses and creating things, exiting and going out and creating something else and helping other people do that same thing.
That's awesome. I've heard that sound bite. It's a good sound bite. And I've heard you say it a bunch of times. And it always, to me, sounds like no big deal. It's like, oh, I do this and I've done that. And it's like,
sure.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on, because, it maybe it's fun to do that stuff, but it's incredibly hard. It's incredibly challenging. As anybody who's listening to this, who's a founder, knows, like, it's not a hobby. Maybe it is now for you, but it's not.
It's still hard every single time because it's different every time. And there are things that you take forward from one to another, but it's not just rinse and repeat. It's not just go do the same things. It's not just take the exact same thing that worked before and do it again, because there are nuances in every business, in every company, in every industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the different things that I've done is changed industries, changed types of companies, different types of businesses. And so it is different every time. And I wouldn't say it's ever easy. I was talking to my coach a little while back in California, and he was telling me, hey, if it's really, really hard, maybe you're doing it wrong. And so I thought, now that's really good advice. And we talked through some things, and there were several things that we found. And it's like, hey, that was really hard, and I was doing it wrong.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you just change the perspective, change
Yeah.
how you're doing it, and it gets significantly easier. I won't ever say it's easy,
Yeah.
but there are pieces of it that can become easy when you have the right tools, you have the right systems, you have the right playbooks. You're really executing well. And that's a big difference in just how you approach it, but it is different every single time.
How many have you run? I mean, I know little things here and there, but obviously you have so many that you consider quote unquote successful, which I don't mean you have your own criteria
Right.
for that. But then you have other ones that may not have hit that bar. So how many successful versus how many total that you've done? If you know. I mean,
Sure. Well, when I say built 5, and that's over 10 million, and so that's real, and not that some of the other things aren't. And so probably a dozen other things. So I've got different side projects. I've done real estate investing for a long time, 20 years. Some side projects that I do, just little companies that are not going to be big. It's just some of them are passion projects, some of them are just fun. Some of them are things that just run, and other people take care of those, and I enjoy being a part of whatever that is that's going on.
mm,
But then I've had other things that I've tried and have absolutely fallen flat. A couple of years ago, we tried to do like a SaaS lending, AR factoring kind of thing, where you could get paid. You say you do a 3-year contract, you get paid for all of it up front. And for whatever reason, I know the reasons, and it was just, I didn't have the right people, I didn't have the right message, I didn't have the right things in place.
Mm.
And so that was a good year of completely messed up.
mm,
And you get to the end and go, well, it's time to pull the plug on this. And could it have been great? Maybe. Was the timing right? Was the team right? But it just, and there are lots of those types of things. The only thing that you, to be successful, the only thing you have to do is to try a whole bunch of stuff, and one of those things will work, and some of them won't. And so it's figuring out the ones that won't quickly, and really focusing your energy and time in the things that do, that
mhm.
have legs, that have potential, that really do have that fit. It's not a product in search of a market. It's something that is strategic, and you really see that there's a need, and you can go fill it like nobody else can.
Is there
I'm
something?
curious,
Go ahead, Blake.
why even be an entrepreneur? I know there's a lot of good reasons, but for you, like you decided to, because a lot of people would decide to have a career. So when you were young, I mean, when you say you've been doing this 25, 30 years, what was it that was interesting to you? Because to some people it does seem impossible, and even maybe to some new founders, it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that is really an interesting question of why. And the easy answer is, I can't do anything else. I've tried to do the corporate thing. I've been contractually obligated to stay on and do the corporate thing for a little while after exit, and I don't enjoy it. I've been entrepreneurial for a long time, and so it's seeing a need in the market and going, nobody's filling this, or their solutions may be higher or lower, or there's something missing in there. Or you look out at the solutions, done this, and everything was on premise. Like, how come we can't make this a SaaS?
Mm.
And so then it's just, I see a problem and I have to go solve it. So maybe it's obsessive compulsive, I don't know.
Is there?
But it's one of those things that I can't do anything else.
It's like a
Do you
DNA
think?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Do
Yeah.
you think founders have more or less confidence than the average person? Or
I don't know that it's necessarily a matter of confidence,
yeah.
but founders take action.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't matter if they're confident or they're not confident, because there are a lot of things that I'm not confident in, and I don't know, but I'm willing to step into the darkness
Right.
and take that chance. And so I
But
think
see
that's the
now,
difference.
wouldn't that be confidence? Because you're like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to do what I can to move forward. And it's or maybe it's courage, right? Because you're going to push through the unknown to find the answer. Or maybe we're just all stupid. I don't know.
I think it's probably some mix of all of those.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Like, are you crazy? Yeah,
Yeah, a
a
little
little
bit.
bit.
Yeah, I like
It's just
that.
I think that's part of the requirement.
Give us a rundown on I mean, I've heard this, DJ and I know this stuff, but what are the companies that you've done? I mean, 25, 30 years, the ones that you consider successful that have crossed 10 million in revenue, what were they? Because they're in different industries, right?
Sure. Sure. So long time ago, services business, kind of where I started, I mean, really tiny. So it's not one that I count in lawn mowing, landscaping. So that was a really early win. Have done other little things, vending machines in college and a little bit after. I
I
mean, how
didn't know
about
that.
that?
That's
I didn't
cool.
know that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
crazy things. So lots of different things like that. But office supplies, video stores, back when you actually went into a physical location and browsed the aisles
Oh,
and
I
got a
miss it.
VHS tape, it got fined if you didn't rewind.
Yeah, you did.
I
Yeah,
don't even remember that.
Oh, you're too young, man.
it's a long time ago. So
All right.
very different things, consumer based, retail. From there, financial services ran this is one of the corporate things. This is one of the things that I think was a mistake. Ran a financial services business for a little while, and it was okay, but really wanted to get back and solve bigger problems. And the SAP consulting, SAP back in the late 90s, super hot as it was going to client server from mainframe. I mean,
Mm.
it's been a long time,
I remember.
and they're still doing really well and continuing to innovate. So that was another one that was fantastic, and two exit in that process. A really interesting deal. It's one of the things that I learned where acquisitions can be free when you have a private company bought by a public company. Just the multiple disparity. So if you buy a
Mm,
company that's private, and say you pay 10x multiple, but you're a public company and you have a 30x
Mm.
multiple or
Yeah.
20x multiple, that acquisition was free. Yeah, it didn't cost you anything because you're going to roll that right into your business. And so it's just one of
It's not
those
even
light bulb
girl math.
moments.
It just is. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
what if a lot of people know
Yeah.
that? I don't think they do.
No, it's really interesting just to think about that. And I think the bigger company you are, the more leverage you have, the more
Hmm.
opportunities you have. And whether that's public or private money or whatever it is, the multiples are bigger. So if you're a $10 million company, you're going to trade at one multiple. Or if you have 10 $1 million companies, those are going to trade at a lower multiple. Well, what if you
Hmm.
took those 10 $1 million companies and rolled them together and now you have a 10? And it's not that easy because there's integration, there's other things. So don't think that
Yeah.
I'm saying you just buy
Yeah.
these and stick them together and sell them. There's a whole lot of steps missing between those 2 points.
Yeah.
Just thinking about ways that you can increase a multiple and how you do that. But that was a real light bulb moment for me.
And what was that?
It's called IT services.
Okay. Okay.
Did a mortgage outsourcing business where we outsourced the loans, big refi boom, but outsourced
Hmm.
mortgage lending for smaller banks, credit unions, regional banks, things like that didn't really have a mortgage department. It's a project that started as an MBA project, sitting in class, and because I was buying real estate,
Hmm.
and if there's most mortgages are originated by some bank and then they're sold off to Fannie Mae,
Hmm.
Yeah. Right.
and
Right.
you can only have a total of 10 with Fannie Mae. So then you're starting to look for other companies who what is called portfolio their loans, and so they actually hold them, they don't sell
Yeah.
them, or they sell them to private investors or other things. And so I'm talking about in class, talking to somebody who worked for a big mortgage lender, and I was like, I want to do more deals, but running into some hurdles and just being able to do them fast enough. And he's like, tell me about it. Because I'm working for this big mortgage lender, and we're taking 90, 120 days, 180 days to close a loan.
Wow.
It's like,
Wow.
wow,
It's a long time.
is there a way that we can solve this? And he's like, yeah, I've got a really good idea of how to do it, but nobody will listen. Like, sweet. And then launched, and that was just grew out of that. And so able to go out and crowdsource data. If we built this, what would you like to see in it? And then be able to go back to them a few months later and go, hey, we built this, and it's exactly what you said you wanted.
That's cool.
So that was a lot of fun. SaaS company called Sentinel, and that was a CRM specifically in the accounts receivable management space. And that kind of led into what I'm doing today at Intelligent Contacts. And that Sentinel, we did the core CRM and had a lot of partners for the ancillary solutions, the telephony, the communications, the payments, data, everything around that. And we did the core software. And so that the idea, and it was an early SaaS company. Back before SaaS was even SaaS, it was called ASP.
Right.
Way back. So that's dating myself there. But
so did Sentinel become Intelligent Contacts, which is the company you run now?
No, it didn't. One of the things because we were partnering with companies around that for the other technology, so we had the core CRM piece. And none of the communications, none of that was SaaS.
Okay.
And it's like, why isn't it? And so kind of the thought process of we've got a SaaS CRM, why not build the communications piece SaaS? And so the plans started to do that. And the more I thought about it, the more it made a lot more sense to exit there and build it independent. So instead of being tied to that one particular CRM, now we can build it independently for the cloud and work with hundreds of CRMs, systems like that. And it just made a lot more sense to do that. And so I did. And that's where Intelligent Contacts came from. And then our subsidiary Intelligent Payments does all of the payment processing around that, because we're facilitating conversations and we're processing payments. And so those two things fit together really well. And so I from the very beginning, broke a rule of really focus on one service, one market, all the big ones. And so I did too.
Tell everybody now.
So that's something, should I have done that? Looking back, I probably would have done it differently, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I would have stuck with the one and then added, partnered, or done something like that, and then grown into it, but tried to launch both of those at the same time. And ultimately it worked, but not without a lot of pain. But
I bet
really, really well.
But it was a lot of growing pains. But yeah, it's they do complement each other though, so that's good. Like you didn't go from one and then come something that's completely disconnected. They are hand in hand with each other. So I imagine that helped at least a little.
Right, and that was really the thought process of being able to build them together, because one feeds the other.
Yeah. But you had to learn both at the same time, and grow both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd never been in telephony. I'd never been in communications. I'd never been in payments. Welcome to the world. I mean, it's one of those things of, this goes back to, is it courage or is it stupidity? Yeah.
Courageous stupidity. That's what we'll go with.
Because people will say to just stick to what you know and grow that way. But you're saying, well, you don't have to do that.
Right. And there's definitely a learning curve, but every successive company, I've taken the lessons from before, and it's not necessarily just the tactics, but it's really the lessons in what worked and what didn't, and how can I carry that forward across industries. And I think that's really interesting. Not a lot of people move into multiple industries, and probably been in 15 or 20 of them over the years. But when you do that, there's something that's really old in one industry is brand new in another one. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's revolutionary.
Right.
And so being able to take some of those things and port them over, and it wasn't necessarily intentional early. It was the tool set I had. And I didn't know any different. So I just took that and used it, and it worked. And then it was probably the third one in, I went, oh, I see what I'm doing here. And now it becomes more intentional of, I can take these, and these things are really common here. But if I'm in this industry and do it this way, nobody's doing that. So one of those was like usage-based pricing. We did that in the case of Intelligent Contacts. And that was 12 years ago. Everybody else was selling seats.
Yeah.
And we would show up on RFPs and proposals. What's your seat price? 0. Unlimited users, unlimited everything. And they're like, mind blown. And they had to talk to us. And so that was one of the reasons that I did it, is to start the conversation, because it's like, this company we never heard of just gave us a proposal for 0. And so they're like, explain this to us. How does this work? And so that was one of the things that we did that was very different. We did billing. If you look at most of our competitors' bills, it's 15 pages long and a whole bunch of ancillary charges and this and that. And for ours, it's one number, and that's it. And that was, again, very intentional of just cutting through the fluff no seat fees, usage-based pricing. You use it more, then we make more. Our goals are aligned. We all want you to do better. And when you use it more, when you're
Right.
successful, then we all make money.
Right.
And that really resonated and helped us get some traction, especially early on.
That's cool.
Is that still a unique idea in your space, usage-based pricing?
There are competitors that do that as well now. They've gone away from seat prices, or they'll do seat price plus usage. And I think that's an interesting model too.
Okay.
I mean that's PayPal started that way. Like that's how it was
Sure.
microtransactions, right? I mean that's where that money was made. Wow.
So IC,
go ahead.
When have you been doing IC, Intelligent Contacts?
Yeah.
You're the one.
How long?
Yes.
It's been 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a long time.
And so when we're talking to SaaS founders who maybe they're around $1 million in revenue, what should be a normal growth trajectory? If there is, maybe there's not, but you've experienced this at least 5 times where you've gotten, well, probably more than 5 times to $1 million, but when you're going from $1 million to 10 million and that sort of thing, what makes sense? And when do you know, for instance, when you should pivot, change directions, or do something different?
Yeah.
Maybe you're at a growth ceiling. Like, when do you know what to do next?
Yeah, those are 2 different questions. One is how fast should you grow? And yeah, I'll give you the marketing answer. It depends. There are companies when you're small, growing 100% a year, that's easy. When you get to 5 million, 10 million, 100% a year, that gets a lot harder. Can some companies do it? Absolutely, they do, and they do way more than that. Yeah, I think we've gotten to in SaaS. Many people have heard of it. It's the golden ratio, the rule of 40, and so essentially what that is that your growth rate plus your profit should equal 40. So if you're growing 40%, you can be 0 profit. If you're growing 20%, you need 20% profit. If you're growing 50%, you can lose 10%. If you're growing 100%, then you can lose 60. And it gets a little bit weird. I think losing money is always a bad idea.
Yeah.
Fundamentals matter. I love bootstrap founders for a whole lot of reasons. But really focusing in and figuring that out, what is a reasonable growth rate? And you do hit those ceilings. And on the journey from 1 to 10, there are at least 3 of those. There's one around 1 that pushing past that $1 million mark is hard. And once you get past that, the next one is 3. And getting past 3 is hard. Most companies will get stuck somewhere around 5 to 6 as well. And depending on where that is, somewhere between 7, 8, and then 10. 10 is another one. Once you hit 10, you're in a much better position to move forward. You can handle ups and downs a lot better. You can handle variability in the market.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other pressures, whether those be financial, whether those be, I'll say, just the macro economy, things changing, competitors. You just got a little bit more cushion, a little bit more margin, especially if you're profitable. If you're still losing money and you're $10 million and you're going out to raise a B round, or it baffles me that companies are raising like D, E, and F rounds. I mean, how about we build a model that scales and makes money?
What?
I mean,
if you give us a call, okay?
That's crazy.
We want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, a $200 million E round. I'm like, why?
Yeah. Well, if you look at, I mean, your current company too, right? CLG, we'll get in that in a second, but you look at it's all about ships, right? So as you're talking, I'm thinking John boat, right? Maybe a 21 footer, then a 20, and then eventually like a cruise ship. And if you think about the waves, giant cruise ship or barge does this with giant swells. But if you were in that John boat, you'd be hurting, right? And a minor change, like if you can get your potatoes cheaper, right? Just one on a cruise ship, it's a giant impact versus on a smaller ship. So I think that's
very small changes have huge impacts. I mean, the bigger you get, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, that's a good way for me to picture it in my head.
I like that. It's a good picture.
Yeah. I mean, it fits.
So talk about because let's say you're a founder at 1 million. It sounds nice. It's like, hey, if I could get to 10 million, things will level out. But as you said, there are some growth challenges. There's some common ceilings where growth seems to be stopping, and it's probably for
Sure.
different reasons. So if we had to start at 1 million, could you take us through the common ceilings, what they are, and how you can overcome those?
Sure. And they're different for different companies. It started building a list, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and it started with kind of 10 things. And over time, that's grown, and some of them can be consolidated. But right now, the list sits at basically 52 discrete problems that
Wow.
companies hit on the growth trajectory. And so they'll get to 3 million. And then a lot of times there's a shift there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, say one to three is challenging because you're moving away probably from founder-led sales. You're really understanding, do I have product market fit? You're looking at some bigger competitors, but one of the biggest challenges is you're building out a team between 1 and 3. And it could be executive team. You got your first 10, 15 hires, maybe. Some of the SaaS companies today, I mean, you're running at, you're getting to 10 million with 3 people. And I think that's really, really unique, but pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Very, very lean. But at some point, you're going to be adding people. And one of the big challenges that happens is founders don't let go. And so you bring somebody in and they'll either hire somebody because they're cheap and that's who they can afford. If they're funded, they will hire somebody that was some big hot shot at another company. And again, some of those things transfer over, but it's not the same thing to just, I was awesome at PayPal and now I'm going to come do that for your company. Completely different worlds between multi-billion-dollar company or even $100 million company, $50 million company, and 2. The things that you do in 20, 30, 50, way different. And if you try and do those at 2, they'll absolutely fall apart.
Right.
And so 2 mistakes. One is hiring somebody because they're cheap. They don't necessarily have the right skills, the right talent. The second is hiring the hot shot. The third is hiring somebody that is good, because you want to hire people that are better than you, always.
Right.
And so you hire somebody that's good, but then you don't let them do their thing. You're really holding on to it. And that is so difficult to do as a founder. Yeah. And I know this stuff. And I don't think I've ever let anything go without just leaving claw marks all over it. And it's difficult even today. And I know it's the right thing to do, but I don't want to let it go. And a lot of first-time founders are like that because nobody will do it as good as I do. Mm-hmm. Obviously. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why you hired somebody better, is because they could do it better than you. But that's just the feeling is it's not going to be done right. It's not going to be done. And that happens a lot. It's not done right, or it's not done at all, or not done well because you hired somebody that didn't have the skills.
Right.
If you do hire somebody with the skills, then, well, they're not doing it my way. And my way is not necessarily the right way. It's not necessarily the best way, but it's really doing that. But the other mistake is just throwing it over the fence and going, cool, got that handled, done. And then you just throw it over there, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but there's no accountability. There's no check-in. You're not inspecting the expectations. So you're just like, here's the expectation, and see you in a year.
Yep.
And that's really hard to do. And a lot of founders, they'll do this. They'll hire somebody that's not good and have a bad experience. And then they hire somebody that is good, or they hire the hot shot and have a bad experience. And they hire somebody that's good and like, this hiring stuff doesn't work. I don't know how to make this transition.
I mean, I know we're talking to founders, but that is in the corporate world too. I mean, any management leadership position, if you haven't had the proper training skills or aptitude in general, I see that where I am right now. I won't say the name, but where I am right now, we have a guy and he is a manager of the team and he doesn't let go. And we hired somebody on purpose, and that person's not able to do their job like they should because it's like they got a constant bear hug everywhere they go. it's like I'm more of a, here's the fence, you can do what you need to within the fence, here are your boundaries and your guidelines, and he's more of a, you got to do it this way, what are you doing, why are you doing it? It's like, I see it all the time, right? I mean, it's a, you said this before too, your company never outgrows the CEO, founder, leader. because they can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. It just doesn't. That's one of the reasons that as leaders we have to continue to develop. We never get there. We
Right.
never have arrived. We never know everything we need to know. We never are who we need to be. We've still got to grow. We've still got to grow into that role and become something more, so that our team becomes more and the company becomes something more.
right.
So that's the going from founder-led sales and building a team. That's just a big challenge, and that challenge usually causes a revenue stall around 1, 2, 3, something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, usually it's there'll be one at 1, and then at 3 there's almost always one, and that's a real common thing. But again, I mean, 52 different reasons. Every company is a little bit different. But the cool thing is, just with the list, you got some ways that we diagnose and figure out what is the root issue. Because so often I think we treat the symptoms, and we're like, okay, here's the problem. I need more leads. Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
What are you doing with those? What's the sales process? What's the close rate? What does marketing look like? What are you doing? How are those coming in? And if the rest of it's broken, we
Right.
can add as many to the front end as possible, and it's still broken. And so
Hmm.
it's really just asking the questions and figuring out, okay, is that the root cause? Is there something else that needs to happen in there? Is there something else that needs to change? And just because you've seen this so many times, we've got the list, we can go, okay, is it this? Is it this? Maybe it's this. And then we're going to dig down a little bit deeper. And we want to go multiple layers deep, so we're not treating symptoms up here. That's the easy thing to do.
Right.
I need a quick fix, I need a playbook, I need to, and we've done that. Here's a funnel. Okay, this is our new funnel. It's like, no, time out.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how that fits into what you're doing, not just cut paste.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit of a challenge, but figuring out, we hear it all the time. I need more leads. I'm the world's best kept secret. Why? Is it the message? Is because you can go out there and you can quadruple lead generation capacity, but if the message isn't right, then we've just wasted that. So I think it's really important to make sure that we're treating root causes and not just the issues at the surface, and really digging down. What is the problem that we're trying to fix? What's the outcome that we're looking for? And what's the quickest path we can get from here to that outcome?
Okay. So on your growth, let's just talk with your most recent SaaS company, Intelligent Contacts, that you run now. Can you tell us about, how many employees do you have now?
We're 100-ish.
100-ish. So you have 100-ish employees, but back in the early days, it was not that way. And so on your route to where you are now, can you talk about a specific situation where there was a ceiling, there was a challenge, it was like things are stuck and I don't know why, and then you had to figure it out, and how did you manage that?
There are always those, and there are a lot of constraints along the way. So it's figuring out. We made some mistakes in hiring and the direction. We became, for a while, very, I'll say, product led, or very development led, where development was driving everything in the organization. It was by far the biggest. So if you look at,
and at what stage were you at then for this problem?
We're fairly early, say between 1 and 2 million,
Okay.
1 and 3 million, and very, very tech heavy, and thinking that the problem is that we need to build more stuff, and we built and built and built and built. I don't know if you've seen the multiple levels deep. What is the movie? Leonardo DiCaprio at the top.
It's Inception.
Yeah.
Inception. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and you got multiple levels deep. So building all this stuff. And so it's like we're multiple levels deep. We're building all this stuff, and nobody's that many levels deep with us. But if you look at companies in that stage, where should your spend be? Sales and marketing, admin, development, those kinds of things. And we were just backwards on sales and development. And so it's like, why are sales not happening? Well, because we're putting all our resources over here and we're building a bunch of stuff and we got nobody to tell the world about it. Like,
Right.
Maybe if we shift that and put more focus on telling the world about what we have, then we'll build smarter. We'll stop building a bunch of stuff that's never going to be used.
Right.
whether they're internal or, I mean, you ask a developer, should we buy it? Should we build it? They always say build it.
Build it. Yep.
Don't ask them that question. But, really, resource allocation, something as simple as that. So it wasn't that the message wasn't right. It wasn't we needed more leads. It was we're focusing on the wrong things. And so for where we are, for where we want to go, if revenue is here and we want to get here, how do we do that? It's not build more stuff. It is take a shift there and focus on sales and really get that machine working, get the flywheel going.
So it seems so obvious now, but how did you figure that out in the moment? Was like, what did it just come to you one day, or what happened? Yeah.
Somewhat. Yeah, it's having conversations. I think one of the things that is really, really healthy is having relationships with other founders and be able to talk about what's going on, some of the challenges, and have that place of psychological safety where they're not going to laugh at you. They're not going to go, man, you suck.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of other places that we can get that as founders. But they're willing to, and I love the SaaS community because they're very willing to have those conversations and work together. And I mean, even somebody you might say is a competitor we're very friendly competitors for the most part, and have those conversations and it's like a rising tide lifts all boats, and we want everybody to do really well. And so we have those conversations. Hey, I'm really looking at this. What am I not seeing that you see in my business? And they look at it and go, why is your development budget twice what your sales budget is? Because it's like, oh, maybe the reason we don't have sales is because we're spending way too much on one area and not enough in another. Like, hello.
So that was a conversation
It's really, really good. There's having other people to bounce ideas off of that can help you shift perspective.
Right.
And just ask questions of why are you doing it this way? Maybe there's a reason, maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just, so I've been looking at it this way, and they just turn it like this. And I go, oh, it was right there in front of me, but I never saw it that way before. And there's so often that happens in those conversations of other people are doing things different ways, or, hey, I've solved this. I had the same problem and I solved it this way. Those are just absolute gold.
So another founder helped you to see that. Is that right?
Yes.
And that was a SaaS founder?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So he took a map and he went, and you're like, oh,
that's it.
Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're just looking at it, and let's dig into it. And sometimes as founders, it's really difficult to look at our businesses objectively because we're living in them. We're living in that forest. Yeah. And it takes somebody else from a little outside perspective to look at it and go, what's that tree right there next to you? And you're like, I've been looking for a giant oak tree. Look, hey, look, it's a pine tree.
Did you mean the one I'm leaning on? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did you know this founder?
We're in a mastermind group together.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. So that is a good maybe place to pivot and start talking about what you're doing with Champion Leadership Group. Yeah,
sure.
Because I mean, just exactly what you said. You're stuck at 1 or 2 million, and there's this thing that's glaringly obvious to a peer, and you just can't see it. And so when you were after you had that conversation, how quickly did you overcome the growth obstacle?
Within a couple of months. It took a little bit of time to make the shift, but it was immediate, and knew that it was something that we needed to do. I mean, it made so much sense.
Right. How long would it have taken you to notice it yourself? To notice you were going the wrong way?
I think I probably would have looked at 100 other things first. Just because, I mean, you don't want to say, I don't want my development team, because they're really, really good.
Right.
And big and that kind of thing. I don't want to reduce that. So there's got to be another solution, because reducing it means I made a bad decision. It means I failed somewhere.
It's true.
I don't want to admit that.
Yep. It's true too.
Yeah, so we look for those other things instead of looking at taking that responsibility and going, yeah, this one's on me. This was, I let this get out of hand. And I can tell you exactly when I did it, exactly when I increased that budget. And at the time I was thinking, we'll probably grow into it. It is just, looking back, it was like, I know exactly, I could tell you the month and year I made the decision. and it was a bad decision. Now, I should have held that budget where it was and
Right.
allocated resources as we
Oh, the
continue to grow.
decision to grow your dev ops.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you ask anybody, any managers, you start hiring team, and you ask anybody, what do you need? 100% of the time, we need more people.
Yeah.
We need more people. We need more people. We need more people. Sometimes, I mean, people are really, really helpful, but it can get out of control. And for some managers, especially newer managers, and this is true, big companies. I mean, DJ, you tell me if this is right. One of their measures of success is how big their team is.
Yep.
Oh, I've got 25 people on my team.
100%.
And that can happen with founders too.
Yep.
Is we can have those same types of thoughts of how big is your team? Oh, my team is so big, because lots of people means lots of activity, means lots of revenue. But then are they all really productive? Do you really need all those people? And we've seen that the big tech purge 2023.
Yeah.
How do you get rid of 70% of your company and be okay? What were they doing?
Is that Twitter?
And that happens.
Huh? Yeah, that was Twitter.
Yeah,
it was
80%. Cut 40%.
80%. Oh
yeah,
my God.
And he goes, apparently 80% weren't really doing very much. Like that was his answer.
That's amazing. How does
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's true. Like not how efficient they are, not what they're producing, but how big they are is a big deal.
Yeah, you get people and they measure that they're measuring the wrong things. Instead of having true KPIs. Really, what is it that they're responsible for? What do they measure for success? They don't necessarily know. So we're busy. We're doing a bunch of stuff. We're hiring people. We need lots of people, and that's one of the ways that as a manager, I judge my worth, my value to the company is because I have a big team. My team's bigger than yours, so therefore I'm more important.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy.
Right. Yeah.
So that's another example. Twitter, a different founder came in. I mean, he bought it, obviously, but he had a totally different perspective, and he was like, hey, we can cut all of this. And he made that decision within the first couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said apparently when you don't censor everything, you don't need as many people.
Oh,
That's what he said.
Right, when you're not working for the government.
Yeah.
Censoring everything and controlling. Anyways, we won't go there. But
back to Jeff.
But yes, okay. You found success. I mean, Intelligent Context continues to grow at a steady clip, but you found a lot of help getting over those first baby steps of 1 million to 2 million, and then growing past there from a mentorship or a mastermind. Tell us about Champion Leadership Group. How did it start? Why did you decide to do the thing that helped you? Because you're also doing other things.
Yes. Well, it's one of the things that I absolutely love where we came from and what we do. And it started 10 years ago in working with a few founders and them going, hey, can you help me with this? Okay, sure. And then that grows into a few more. And I'm just like completely tapped out, but I love it. Because one of the reasons that I've been successful has been mentors. And that's a huge part of my story, my journey has been mentors and just a huge part of my success. And so I've had those at times. I've not had those at other times. Vast difference in, productivity and acceleration. And because I've had that and the value it had, I wanted to shift that. And I was tapped out working one-on-one. And so shifted into more of a group model where we're results focused. And so it's not just throw you into a giant content portal, watch all our awesome stuff because it's awesome and we made it. But it's about results. It's about how do we get steady results, month after month after month after month, consistently over time. So not trying to boil the ocean, but how can we make progress constantly every single month throughout the entire year? So results focused, mentor guided. And so that is myself and my experience plus other people that are part of our group that have experience in specific areas, whether that's marketing or sales or consulting or HR or hiring or technical recruiting. I mean, so many different areas of expertise within that. So if you're looking for a fractional whatever, fractional CFO, CMO, whatever it is, I mean, that's part of what we do in being mentor guided is provide those types of services and
Mhm.
solutions. Is just part of what we do. So results focused, mentor guided, and then peer supported, and that's really the mastermind aspect, that the mentoring. And so it's not just working with me, not just working with other people, other guides in the group, but also with peers because we're on the journey together. Being an entrepreneur, being a founder can be really, really lonely.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't have a board.
Right.
Sometimes we don't have a big team. Sometimes we do have a board and we can't talk to them about anything. I've had good boards, bad boards, no boards. But it can be really lonely because you can't necessarily talk to your team about everything, can't talk to your board about everything.
Right.
You could talk to friends and family and they're like, I don't really get what you do. And why don't you just go get a job?
Yeah, true.
But then you're in a
Also
group of other
stress.
people. Yeah. Why would you go through all that stress?
Yeah.
Then you have a group of people that are on that journey together with you. They're going through the same things. They've been through some of the same things that you're going through, and you've been through some of the same things that they're going through.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so now you have that alignment where you're there together. And I think that is where the magic happens. Is when we're working together, we're helping each other, we're moving forward, and that's really where Champion Leadership Group started. It started with just a few, and grew out of that just from a time perspective and a lot more value because I can still do the one-on-one, but there's so much more value in doing it as a group because I don't know everything.
Right.
I don't want to know everything. I mean, the more I learn, the more I realize that I know like this much, maybe
Yep.
less.
Yeah.
But there are people that have expertise and they can tell you exactly what is working in their field, whether that's marketing and ads, in branding, in messaging, in packaging, in pricing. I mean, so much deeper than what I know or what I could tell you because I could do it here and they can go really, really deep.
Yeah.
And so it's having that perspective is so helpful. And then just again, that peer aspect, things that you would never, ever get one-on-one
Yeah.
and just a huge value. And that's what we want to do. I want to be the mentor that I wish I'd had in the early days and
There you
did
go.
at times. And then be able to help other people on their journey. And the goal is to help 1,000 SaaS companies hit that $10 million mark or more. And so it's $10 billion in economic value in that. And it's not just revenue. It's not just growing. It's not just exiting. Some people want to exit, and that's awesome, and help you do that at a premium valuation because those are out there, and there's things that make business more valuable than others. And so we want to do that. And there's others that they want to hold on. I had a founder a little while back. It's like I'm at 14, 15 million. I don't want to sell. I'm like, well, then don't freaking sell.
Yep.
There's nothing that says you have to do that. There's nothing that says we got to get to 5 and we're gonna flip, or 10 or 20 and we're gonna hold on. There's no rules. It's what do you want to do, and it's building a business that serves you as a leader, as a founder, your family. But it's not just about revenue. It's about how can we give back. It's about freedom and building epic lives. So what good is it to work 80 hours a week and never have any fun?
Yeah.
And the idea is, well, I'm going to do this now, and I'm going to put everything else on the back burner, family, hobbies, anything, friends, and I'm going to completely focus on the business now. Maybe it makes it, maybe it doesn't. But even if it does, let's say 5 years from now, you exit, and now you get a bunch of money. Yay.
Yeah.
You
Right.
wasted 5 years. 5 years of family time, 5 years of friends, 5 years of being able to do things. So I want people to build amazing businesses, but also create epic lives. And what does that mean? It's define it. And what does that mean to you as a founder? Is it travel? Is it family? Is it being able to coach your kids in sports? My dad did that for me. I get to do that with my kids. And it's really, really fun, and just the bonds that you build and the relationships. And that is absolutely priceless. $1 million here, there, that's cool. Building family and having relationships and kids that are doing awesome and things like that. I mean, that is absolutely priceless. And sometimes people can chase the wrong thing. and they get it and they have that big exit and like, wow, I get $10 million and I'm alone.
Yeah.
And now what?
Yeah.
Well, probably they might just start another company. Is that what you did? What was your experience?
That's all they know what to
I mean,
do.
you had that experience several times over. Let's
Sure.
talk about the first time you had a big exit.
I was gonna hit.
What was running through your head? Yeah.
I was gonna hit on that too, because it's one thing to grow it. It's another thing. Like some people that we've talked to don't even realize exit is an option, right? They just want to grow.
Sure.
They're only on that one growth trajectory, and they don't realize setting yourself up for an exit is important, right? And I know from my own experience talking to you about some of my endeavors and ventures that I've looked at, you've helped me considerably with just the knowledge you've done, because you've exited great and you've exited not so great on some other ones.
Yeah.
So you've lived and learned, and yeah, I think that's a good point, Blake. That'd be a good story to talk about.
Yeah, what do you do when you exit? And for me, the first really big one, I took 2 years off. Spent time with my kids and coach sports. Got to take them to school every morning. Spend time in the gym, and it was one of those things that I thought it was cool. I'm semi-retired, at 28, 29 years old, and I quickly realized that everybody else is still working. Everybody's doing stuff, and just nobody to hang out with.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, maybe I should actually do something else. And I did. Took time off. Really, really enjoyed that, and it's not something I would ever trade. I mean that time.
Yeah.
And it's important to do that all along, not just in chunks, but to be able to have a couple of years and really spend time with my kids while they were young, and spend time with my wife and do fun things. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But had to do it again because I saw a need.
Yeah. Because you did. Am I right in saying that you went the family route before you went really hardcore into building businesses?
Yeah, I got married young, 22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas some people will go the opposite. Hey, I need to build a career. I need to get a lot of money first, feel really stable, and have time to invest. What would you say to those kinds of people?
Well, I mean, do what works for you.
Yeah.
But don't sacrifice now for someday maybe. If you find yourself saying, someday I will, why not now?
Yeah.
Someday I'll get married. Someday I'll have a family. Someday I'll travel. Someday I will be happy. What's wrong with today? Yeah, time is the most precious thing that we have.
Yeah.
The world's full of money, and it'll come, it'll go, but time, we only have so much of that. And how we spend that, how we spend our days, how we invest that is absolutely priceless. And there's nothing, nobody on their deathbed ever looks back and goes, wow, I wish I'd worked more. Wish I'd spent more time in the office. What are the things that are really important? And if you're saying someday maybe, or someday I will, think about that. Someday, are you going to look back and say, wow, I wish I had?
Yeah.
I never want to die wondering what if.
Right.
I want to take the action and find out what if. Yeah, I want to do it now, not wait and someday maybe then I will.
Finding that balance of living right now and not living for the future, I think that's a struggle for a lot of people. Is that something that you got help from in your experience with like masterminds, mentorships, and stuff like that as well? Or was it all mostly business?
I think it was masterminds. It was mentors that really, showed me just really, really good life lessons in, and I would say that, I mean, it's how to live. I mean, it's life lesson. Yeah. Running your life like a business, is this something that you want to do? Then, it's not asking the question of, can I do this? It's how can I? It's finding a way. If we were going to go to Disney World, cool thing. Well, how could we do that? Not someday we will.
Mm-hmm.
Someday when we have money. Someday when I exit. Someday when I have kids. Why not now? What is it that you can do now? And it's not making dumb decisions. It's not just saying we're going to put it on a card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not making dumb financial decisions. But what is it that makes you happy? What is it that it makes you
Yeah.
fulfilled?
Yeah.
And why can't you do that now? Why is it someday that you do that? Why not today?
I remember I sent you a clip of Mark Cuban talking about mentors. I think it was some ad or something. I'm not sure. But he was like, mentors are good, but you really got to figure it out on your own. And I was like, okay, interesting perspective. I've heard that from quite a few people, that it's like there's nobody's gonna save you. You, like, a lot of people will sell a mentorship or a mastermind or something as like, hey, you
Yeah.
can't do this on your own. You need us. And I think the opposing voice is like, you actually have to do it yourself. Where do you come down on that line? And what would you say to that clip of Mark Cuban talking about mentors aren't that useful?
I think it's both. I think mentors, there are times where they're not. Have they actually done what you're doing?
Yeah.
Or is it, it's the 22-year-old life coach
Yeah.
that, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Have they actually done it? Have they done it multiple
Yeah.
times?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have they walked there? And I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn. So Mark Cuban says mentors aren't that helpful. Yeah, has he ever had a good mentor, somebody that really had been there and could show him how to do things? Has he ever read a book? Has he ever seen speakers? Of course.
Yeah.
And I think all of those play a role. And
Yeah.
so we learn from a lot of different places. And mentors can sometimes help us see things differently. They
Mhm.
can help us synthesize information. It can just be a sounding board.
Yeah.
And so there are definitely things that you have to learn on your own. There are a lot of things, if you try and learn on your own. Friend Keith Cunningham, outstanding author, absolutely brilliant guy. He calls it paying the dumb tax. And I've talked about that in other podcasts. I've paid a lot of dumb tax. And because I tried to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And you can do that, but you end up, it's a lot more expensive. It's a lot slower. But if I can talk to somebody who is doing it now or has done it or has done it multiple times, then we can probably shortcut that process and get to where we want to go a lot faster because we know some things that don't work and we have some good ideas of some things that do work. And I think that mastery is, anybody can look at something and say, hey, this worked once in this company one time.
Mhm.
And sometimes they'll take that and sell that as here is the way.
Yeah.
But I think mastery is being able to look at something and we know 6 different ways that it can
Yep.
work, 6 different possibilities, and say these 2 are probably in this situation, probably the most likely to get you the result you want. And of those 2, I think this one is the first one to try. And here's how we'll know if it's working or if it's not really quickly. That's way different than, a mentor where it's like just encouragement or go get them. And I think that's
Yeah.
important. Somebody who did it once, one time in one way.
Yeah.
It feeds into what I think, like, I've called him like the anti-guru before, because
Yeah.
but seriously, because when we've asked you questions or anybody's asked you questions, well, this person said this, and you go, maybe. And what about this? Should I go this way? Maybe. Right? That's really your answer is like they're all right and they're all wrong at the same time. Right? And I've seen that
Right.
before with you. You're like, yeah, all of those ones you said are right, but they're also all wrong because it depends on where you are as the founder, owner, business, leader, because you, like, one might make more sense than the other. And that's where I've learned from you over the years. It's like, I've asked you questions. You're like, no, not for you, for them, but not for you. Right. Or maybe, right. Cause you're like the maybe guru to me. It's like, you have insight in all of these different arenas. And that's, I don't think that can come across all the time. And it's important, right? So anyway.
Well, that's like sales methodology. Which one's the best?
Exactly.
Yes, they all work.
Right.
Is it challenger selling? Is it spin selling? Is it selling to veto?
Right.
Is it consultative selling? Is it Miller Hyman? Is it
Yeah, there's a dozen more.
anyway?
Yep.
Gap selling?
Yep.
Do they work? Yes, they all do.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends. Is it account-based marketing? All of those work in the right place.
Right.
But if you see somebody speak or you read a book and you go, this is the new way, I'm going to take this and put it into my company, it might work.
Yeah.
Is it the right fit? And it's really taking a step back. Okay, who's the market? Who is it that we're selling? How do they want to buy?
Right.
How are they used to processing? What does their buy cycle look like? Is it a complex sale? There's so many different things feed into that.
Right.
And so which methodology is the best? It depends. But it's choosing the right one for your business and your product, and most importantly, your buyer. And when you can back into it and look at it that way, okay, figure out who the ICP is. How do they buy? What is it? Do they buy by committee? Is it one person? What type of role is it? Where do they hang out? And you can back into what is the right methodology that fits that.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is really important, instead of just chasing the shiny objects of, oh, I heard this thing, I saw this podcast, I saw this interview with somebody, I read this article on TechCrunch.
Yeah.
That's the golden ticket. No, it's not. But it's really hard as a leader not to chase those shiny objects.
Yeah.
And I do it.
Right. Yeah.
We all do it.
Yeah. There's so many options for you to choose. There's so many people probably in your LinkedIn DMs who have a method for you, or some kind of course, or hey, hire me to do this, whatever. I've said there's a lot of like methods and voices out there and choices you can make. When it comes to somebody who's evaluating, hey, should I go buy mentorship? Is that something that is worth it to me? How can they know? And even talking about Champion Leadership Group, how can they know what's the right choice? What's if they want to buy it?
True.
Because you have, like, let's just talk about, you have EOS, you have Champion Leadership Group has got an operating system as well that you have designed and built over the years.
You Vistage, right? All the other ones.
There's groups out there like Vistage, right? So when somebody is evaluating this, how can you know what is going to be the best choice for you?
I think one, look at it holistically. What do you want out of the group? If it's Vistage, you've got a really good peer group, and that's it. It's hard to hold those C-level groups together. A lot of times they'll form and then they fall apart over a year. I was talking to somebody last week about that. They're like, I've been a part of like 6 of those, and they go for a few months and fall apart. Like, yeah, that happens. What is it that you want? Is it just peer? Then maybe that's a fit. If you need systems, EOS is a pretty good system. There's some things that are not great about it. One I call death by meeting. I'm not a meeting person. If we're having a meeting, I want it to be really focused, and I want a scorecard, and I want to know, are we winning or are we losing? And I don't want to meet just to meet. I don't want to meet to have endless planning sessions. So there are some good things about that, and there's some companies that have really good results. And in EOS, there's Traction. There's a great book, Geno Wickman. If you haven't read that, take a look at it. There's some good things in there. And so we have some of the same elements in what we do, and not some of the other elements. But what happens is, as a company, you may start and you say implement Traction. One, you need an implementer, so now you got to pay a consultant to do that. And it's designed, I think, to keep you dependent on that consultant to implement it and keep it going. And I think there's a lot of time wasted through the process. Right. So just in thinking about, is it right for me? But they do have some really good processes that's helped a lot of companies. The other side is so EOS, you're missing the peer aspect. In Vistage, you're missing the systems and the processes. Well, what if you had both of those, and then you add on mentoring and experts on top of that?
Right.
And that's really what we have at Leadership Group. Is it what do you want in your business? And what we want to deliver is all 3 of those. So we want the mastermind, we want the peer aspect, we want the systems and processes that you can use in your business. And we talk about, you have traction, now it's time to scale. And that's what we want to do in your business is add that scale and take you beyond traction. So traction is good. Traction is product market fit. Traction is
necessary.
The early stages. And we really want to scale beyond that. And that's what we're looking for. And I think it takes all 3 of those to do that. So it's meeting with other people and spending time. It is having access to systems and processes. And it's also having those fractional leaders, the mentors, the guides along the way that help you get there. So it's not just knowledge. Knowledge is fine. ChatGPT can give us that. But there's so much more.
Well, you've done a lot of them. And that's another thing, too, that we haven't touched on. You've spent A lot of money. I'm not even going to go into a figure.
Billions.
There you go. I was going to let you say it. It's been a lot of money over the years, and you've done almost all of these programs, because I can't think of one I've asked you about that you don't know about. So really, I mean, I've asked you, and you're like, oh no, don't do that, or yeah, that's good in this, and you seem to know the little nuances of each one. And so, building Champion Leadership Group, you're trying to find what other
What
ones are
is the
missing
best
and bring it
of
all
all of
together.
those?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the best? What can we take, from those? What is really good about it? And how can we integrate that into what we're doing? And how can we get the time wasters and the fluff out?
Yeah.
And when I say fluff, I don't mean that we don't have fun, because we absolutely do. And that is a key part
Yeah.
of what we do. It's profitable growth, impact, and freedom. And so
Yep.
we want that freedom, we want that fun. But there's a lot of other extraneous stuff that don't move the needle, and we can just get rid of all that.
Yeah.
And we'll focus on the things that move the needle, and then we're going to have a lot of fun together as well.
I was gonna say, you get rid of the fluff so you can have fun. Like that's
Yes.
that's
Yes.
why. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come in having that fun time, or that downtime with other people. And this last year, my greatest breakthrough, one was on a bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto. We're doing a mastermind on a bullet train. Another one was sitting outside, in Florida. No, it's California. Sitting
California.
outside in California, just sitting out under an umbrella, just like hanging out, having a conversation. And one of the best ideas came from that conversation. And it was just, again, it was one of those things of, I've been thinking about this and just solidifying the thoughts and just bouncing ideas off of and rolling that around. And it's like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I need to go do.
That's cool.
That's awesome. So you've said that, I don't know if you explicitly said it, but Champion Leadership tries to take from all of these groups and all of these programs that are out there and deliver something that's a little bit more holistic. Where would you say, two questions, where would you say that Champion Leadership Group really shines? And then if somebody's listening to these episodes and they want to get help, maybe they are considering a group like ours or our group, well, specifically our group, what could they expect when they come in, when they become a part of it?
Yeah. So to be a part of it, yeah, definitely. I mean, we want specific revenue level. Want to make sure that you have that, because we're looking for is critical mass that we can accelerate. We want to get to that scale part. So it's not just finding tractions. If it's 10 or 20 million in ARR, 20 million, 10 or 20,000 a month in ARR, you're still finding your footing. But once you hit the $1 million mark, we can really accelerate, and that's what we're looking for. So I think that's part of it as well. We've got lots of free resources. If you're under that, lots of free stuff, and it's all yours. And want to get you to that million so you can join in.
Yeah.
And it's run rate. It's like I haven't my trailing 12 months isn't $1 million, but I'm at 60,000, 70,000, 80,000 a month now. Is that close enough? Yeah, we're good. Let's talk.
Yeah.
So what can they expect? We're going to do a 90-day game plan. We're going to spend time together with other founders online and in person. We get together in person 3 times a year, sometimes 4. And so I love the in-person meetings, because that's where real breakthroughs happen. They have access to the guys and the expertise, and so we'll theme weeks, theme months around different things. So if it's a marketing thing, if it's a sales thing, if it's IT related, so lots of different things, but all of that is available as well. But don't want to drown people in a content portal. And I think that's one of the things that separates us from some of the other ones, is just, here's tons of content. Good luck. It's all awesome because we made it. And we do want to make great content, but it's about so much more than that, especially as the business continues to grow. I look at it now, and I don't know that there's a lot that I could learn from a course. I mean, there are probably things, but for the most part, I learn in contact with other founders, other people, having conversations for what's working right now for them. And I can share what's working right now for us, and we can test things. And that's one of the things that I love about still running a SaaS company, is we can test things that we're talking about in the market. So if it's a marketing challenge, if it's a sales thing, if it's I don't know, let's run an experiment and see.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what worked and what didn't, and probably why it did or why it didn't.
It's true.
And how we might do it differently next time.
That's awesome. one of the last things, I mean, we can keep going, but one of the last things that I wanted to let people know about is just some of the future plans we have come up. We do have some events that are actually going to be open to people who aren't in the group.
Yes.
Coming up. So could you talk a little bit about just what we're going to be doing in 2024?
Sure. We've laid out the calendar. It's one of the things that my coach taught me 5-6 years ago and has been completely free. We've laid out the calendar for the year. We know what we're going to be doing when, and one of the first things coming up will be in the end of January, beginning of February. We're going to get some founders together and hang out together. So if this is something you're thinking about, come hang out with us. How do you know if this is the right fit for you? Try it out. I think that's one of the best ways to do that is experience what it is and come hang out with us. So we'll be hanging out on the beach somewhere in Florida, end of January, early February. And so come spend some time with us and a handful of other founders. It is not going to be a big, giant thing, not a big conference where you sit and listen. It is going to be completely participation.
Yeah.
And relatively small. I think we'll keep this one relatively small group of founders, say maybe 10, 15, 20 at the most, and really focusing on the right next step for your business. And it's what we do all the time. We use an agile methodology, work in specific time sequence. And so we'll be doing that at this. So if that's something you're interested in, hit us up. Would love for you to be my guest. You probably talk to one of these guys and we'll get you connected in and get you there. So talking with some other founders and spending time and not just learning from me or the process, but getting to know other people as well. Super helpful.
Amazing. Well, does anybody have any last thoughts, any closing sentiments to leave for our listeners?
Profitable growth, impact, and freedom. We're in business to do more than just make money. We want to leave an impact in the world and give back. I think every founder should have something to give back to, whatever it is that you're passionate about. But profitable growth, because losing money is just dumb. We don't want to do that. To grow profitably, we want a premium valuation, we want impact and freedom. And I think that's one of the most important things. It's not someday I will, but it's today. So let's make that today. And that's why I always say, enjoy the journey. So I love to end with that.
It's one thing Brian Tracy said. He said, do it now, do it now, do it now. Say that every time. Do it now. And become that person and you'll move forward. So this is good. This is a lot of fun, man. I want to do this again. This is great.
Yeah.
This is
I like what you said at the beginning,
I appreciate you guys. Love this team takeover. This is pretty fun.
Yeah. I like what Jeff said at the beginning, which was if it seems really hard, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So
it's really hard. You're probably doing it wrong. And that was such an epiphany for me.
Yeah.
It's like, yep.
Another thing that I heard Jeff say, well, actually I heard somebody else start it, but it was, okay, you can either build an empire or you can have a family, and you need to pick one. And Jeff's response was, well, you can do both. You can build an empire and also have a family.
Yeah.
So it feels like you can't.
Lifestyle and empire. Yeah, empire lifestyle.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
maybe we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See ya.
Have a sassy Christmas. Bye.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/saasfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.